r/surviving infidelity stories. Fiancée F31 said her ex is the love of her life. Throwaway for obvious reasons. So I'm in a bit of a daze right now, to be honest. My fiancée F31, and I, M33, got engaged in October last year and have been in a relationship for 5 years now. Everything has been great and I can honestly say that I've never met anyone who comes close to her. She's been the love of my life for sure. I've known her most of my life. We grew up on the same street just round the corner from each other. Her mum and dad still stay in the same house and I still stay in the same house I grew up in, which my mum left to me when she passed away in 2014. We still don't officially live together yet, but for all intents and purposes she lives here. Her parents and her are really close though, and she still has her bedroom there and will occasionally spend the night there, but she's never away from here. Anyway, this morning I decided to go take a walk down to the shops to buy some things, and as I was about halfway down 15-minute walk I realized I had forgotten my face mask. Masks are mandatory here in shops since 10th of July, so I had to walk back and get mine. When I walked in the door to grab the mask from the kitchen table, I heard her speaking to someone loudly on the phone in the living room, and she said, "Yeah, but David will always be the love of my life." David is her ex-boyfriend. I don't know a great deal about him, but I know they were in a relationship for 2 years and it ended a year before we started dating. He also dumped her. I just grabbed my mask and walked back out, and just as I got to the shops I felt weird and I had to sit down as my mind was going in 1,000 different directions. I eventually got back home and immediately told her I feel sick and sent her back round to her parents' house as I didn't want her about as I was ill. I'm now lying in my bed wondering what to do, to be honest. I know she didn't do anything wrong. It's not like she cheated on me or intentionally went out of her way to hurt me, but what's heard can't be unheard. She basically said that the person who she's agreed to marry isn't a patch on an ex she's not been with for 6 years. The fact she said he will always be the love of her life also means that it's a void game. Her heart's already been taken and there's nothing I could ever do to change that. Also, what would happen if he did come back into her life? You can't turn down the love of your life when they come calling, and I'd be dumped quicker than yesterday's leftovers. So what do I do? Tell her I was earwigging on her and heard her say that shit? Just end the relationship for a completely vague reason like, "Oh, it's not you, it's me," etc. Swallow my pride and pretend I didn't hear it? Everything has been wonderful, but there's no way on this earth I want to be someone's second choice, especially when her ex is the one on her mind that she obviously would be with if she could. I'm thinking about just saying it's not working between us. She's now texting me about coming round tonight and mothering and spoiling me cause I'm the sickie. Fuck that. I was gonna update sooner, but I've spent the last 3.5 days in a drunken stupor, so my apologies, but I'll warn you, this is not a good update. Right, so after posting and receiving some advice on Reddit on Thursday, I was thinking of telling her to come back round on Thursday night so we could talk, but settled on Friday morning instead as I wanted to get my head in a clearer state. She still thought I was ill, so I needed a bit of time to think through what I was going to say. So she comes round on Friday morning about 8 AM with rolls and tuna mayo crunch her mom had made for me, along with grapes, sweets and juice and stuff. I think she could see right away that something was wrong, as I must have looked stony-faced and you could cut the atmosphere with a knife. Anyways, I said to her that I wasn't really sick and that yesterday as I was going to the shops I forgot my mask, had to come back to retrieve it, and when I got in to get it I heard her talking in the other room. About David. Her face went completely pale and she started welling up, so I instinctively stopped talking and just stared at her. She then runs into the toilet, locks the door and starts hysterically crying, and alarm bells are going off all over the place in my head. Her reaction made me think she didn't know what I heard, so she must have said some other shit about him as well. I chapped on the door and told her if she has any aspirations of saving this relationship she had better tell me everything right now. 30 minutes or so go by and she finally comes out dabbing her face with a tissue and tells me David got back in touch with her 4 or 5 months ago and she had been sleeping with him once or twice a week since. I said on my previous post she will occasionally go and stay with her parents. It's usually about once a week, sometimes twice, sometimes none. The thing is, I've just popped around myself dozens of times over the years to speak to her mum or dad, watch TV or anything at all really without informing her, and she's always been there, so it's just become routine and I've never thought any more of it. This has obviously been the times that she's gone to meet David. All I can think of is that the snippet of conversation I heard her having was her friend or something helping her choose between David and I. When I heard this I hit the roof. I threw her out, grabbed handfuls of her stuff, put it in bin bags and threw it out the door into the front garden. She's still standing there BTW. I then grabbed my garden hose and drenched the shit out of the bags with it. I'm not proud of that. It was extremely petty, and in hindsight I should never have done that. She at this point has ran round to her house, and about a minute later her dad comes rampaging round screaming. Her dad and I end up rolling about the now quagmire-ish front garden fighting, at about 9 a.m. in the morning no less. Police vans and everything ended up turning up, and half the street was out because of the Remy. Afterwards I blocked her on everything and went to my friend's house where 3 of us spent the weekend, and Monday they took off work. I'm on furlough, drinking. When I got back in the house this morning I noticed she had been back in the house at some point. Made the beds, done the washing and ironed. I have no idea why she done this. As I'm writing this she's tried to get in again. I haven't been able to change the locks yet, so I put the door chains on the front and back door, and from upstairs heard the door opening and the chains clanging as she tried to get in. There's also a note that she's put through the door. I don't even want to read it right now. I'm too hurt, hungry and hungover to even think about what she has to say. Update 2: sorry for the belated, but I'm in a bad way right now. I'm half drunk as I write this, so bear with me. Since everything that has happened, things have took a turn for the worse. As many of you mention I should do, I sent an email to her father, explaining my side of the story and apologizing for taking things public and embarrassing his daughter, but as I said previously, I acted instinctively. I didn't apologize for fighting him as I was reacting to him coming at me. He basically told me to fuck off, and accused me of biting his ear for some reason. So that's what was stuck in my teeth. I joke, of course. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. About a week ago I went outside to find my car keyed right down from the passenger side wing mirror round to the boot. Last Sunday I was walking down the road to meet a friend at the Arches, a place where we occasionally hang out and walk from an arched bridge, and as I was turning the corner the local mouth gossip called me a disgrace. I said, how am I a disgrace? And she told me that I'm a disgrace for beating up my ex-fiancé. Let's just be clear here, I've never laid a finger on her in my life. Either her father or someone else is perpetuating this lie, and me throwing her shit out and hosing it has obviously given this an authenticity. I haven't spoken to my ex and she hasn't tried to contact me anymore. I think they're all on the same page now, that I'm the bad guy. I've got the ball rolling and putting my house up for sale. I can't live here anymore. I wish I still had my mom to lean on, she would make things better. Sorry for the shit update. Now for the top comments. Wow. That's so fucked up. Her whole family is garbage. I guess the only positive is that you found out before you married or had kids with her. Now for the top comments. I know things looks bad right now. But let's just see what you avoided. Marrying a cheater, being divorced, raped by a cheater. Worst thing to me is being cheated and having to pay a cheater for signing off a paper. Could have had kids with her, then you would be stuck for at least 18 to 21 years on child support, or worst, having to pay child support for a kid that's not yours. BC you sign the birth certificate being from David, false accused of DV. Then in jail. Let's see the good side, you really dodged a bullet. You avoided a crazy family, they didn't even heard your side of story. You were saved from living a lie from years. Thank God you heard her talking about David. You gonna get through this. Would recommend you vent in physical exercises. I will never blame human beings for being human. Anger is the most natural reaction when he is betrayed. Sometimes when we sober up, that is the time when we say oops. I don't know if I'm conflict averse, but when I found out about my wife, I just packed up and left without saying a word about it. It doesn't hurt any less, but I think given the circumstances it was the best way for me to go. And go I did. I know this might not mean much right now, but a lot of betrayed people are not as lucky as you, believe it or not. Just read some of the horror stories here. A lot of people get betrayed and lose half of what they own and their children. One of the most tragic stories here is when a man found out after 30+ years of marriage that his first 2 children were not his biologically. Just think what it would have been had you married her. I tell you, good luck, but you already are. Be well and keep safe. Now for the next story. I, 27M, found out that my high school sweetheart wife, 26F, slept with multiple men during our short, non-divorce, separation. My wife, Delilah, and I have been having issues for the past year. Mostly our personal issues, declining mental health, causing marital issues. We've been together for almost 10 years, married for 3, and things were amazing for the first 9. In April, we decided to separate for a few months so that we can work on our issues and to give her space to study for a big exam. Although we knew it was a possibility, we had no intentions on divorcing. We had just started marriage counseling. In mid-June, Delilah asked to cut off all contact with me, including counseling, while she studied for her big exam. I pushed back at first, desperately warning her that the distance would cause more issues, but finally agreed in support of her studying. We go almost 2 months without hardly any contact. She gave a cold reply to my short but sweet happy 3rd anniversary, I love you message. A week after her exam, Delilah apologizes for being so cold to me and explains that she has had a change of heart and wants to make things work with me. She comes up to where I was staying, different state, near all our family, and we spend a lot of great time together. A little over a week later, one of her friends tells me that Delilah was on Tinder and has been actively trying to date and sleep with other men. She had a consistent fuck buddy starting in June, slept around with a bunch of randos on Tinder, and then started an actual romantic relationship with one of her former classmates. On Monday, as we talked about our plans moving forward with the marriage, I asked Delilah repeatedly if there was anything I should know, or anything she wanted to get off her chest. She looked me square in the eyes and said no each time. I confronted her, told her that I knew, and we had long discussions about everything she did. She explained that her mental health is awful and it was a coping mechanism, and that she was going to tell me when we started counseling again. I explained that above all else, the blatant lying and deceit is a deal breaker for me. She's trying so hard to get me to do counseling and work through this. I'm absolutely heartbroken at the idea of this beautiful 10-year relationship ending, but I struggle to see a future where I can trust her again. How do you guys rebuild that trust? Is it fair to blame these actions, and the blatant lying, on mental health issues? Update number 1. Wow, thanks everyone for the support. I was fully planning to divorce when I first learned of this, but since then, Delilah has been doing a great job at manipulating me and making me feel pity for her mental health. Thank you all for the validation in my decision to divorce. If you were in my shoes, would you tell your so's family or siblings about this? I'm extremely close to them and they are dying for us to stay together. I fear that they'll hate me for divorcing Delilah without knowing the truth, but I also know it'll cause serious damage to our relationships with them. Update number 2. I contacted Delilah's sister and brother-in-law and told them the full truth. They were obviously shocked and upset with her. I'm letting Delilah, or her sister, handle telling their parents. Her sister is closer to her parents than Delilah is, so I trust sister to make sure they only get the truth. But if I get any sense of Delilah trying to lie or twist the narrative to make me be the bad guy, I won't hold back in being honest. I have physical evidence. Delilah is heartbroken that I want a divorce, the love bombs are real. She should just be glad I'm going with no fault. I just want a GTFO ASAP so I can start rebuilding. I've learned a ton about divorce and manipulation from you guys. Thank you all for opening my eyes. Update number 3, I told her I definitely wanted a divorce and she cried a lot. Just a few hours later she started posting things on social media like coming back to take on, insert city she was living in, with a song about sex. She's telling me how heartbroken she is and fighting to change my mind while also planning her return to Fuckville. Now for the top comments. Trust is like a shattered vase. You can glue and patch it back together, but it will never be the same and will break easier. I could never be with someone that could lie to me with such ease. At your young age, I wouldn't spend the rest of my life dealing with this. She's simply not worth it. Now for the top comments. So sorry that you are in this position. She wanted this break, not for her exam but only to sleep around, because she thought it would make her feel better. And she enjoyed it, which is why she kept on doing it until her excuse, the exam, was no longer available. No, it is not fair to blame her decisions on her mental health issues just like it wasn't fair that she came back and kept her lie alive. You will never know if she actually really wanted to come clean while counseling or was just looking for another excuse for another break so that she could keep on having fun and testing out other guys while you wait in the corner. Bless this friend who informed you. I think that you should give this person a huge present because unlike your wife, this friend hasn't forgotten about your marriage. No. It's not fair to blame that on mental health issues. She's trying to avoid blame. You can be sad, you can be alone, but she knew what she was doing and could have sought therapy to find a new coping mechanism. This is not a good excuse. You can rebuild the trust, but I encourage you to really sit down and think about it. Rebuilding the trust will take years. It'll take counseling and talking, and there will be moments of anger and resentment that you wish you didn't feel. There will be so much more than just rebuilding trust. It's a rough, bumpy road. Try to sit down and weigh out what you both brought to the relationship, how happy you truly were, how often you had problems. Weigh out the pros and cons and consider whether you are truly ready to feel a lot of anger and sadness for a while, and if she'll be ready to take whatever anger and sadness you're going to feel. You should have brought the cheating up in counseling though. They will be able to help you. I know it feels impossible, but they will be able to help. Keep strong. We are here for you no matter what you choose. Well, that's all for the video today. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, have an amazing day.